All right. We are on getting ready to set up. All right. All right, everyone, welcome back to September is Significant. We are on lesson 8, day 8 of September is Significant, and we are talking about spotlighting your dreams, how to live in your light or living in your light. So, again, hello, everyone. Dr. Vernita here, brilliant solutionist. If you are new, this is your first video. I want you to stop and go all the way back either to the welcome video or to day 1 because this is a sequential series. I'm taking you through some actual steps that I've walked through with clients. It is like the intro, kind of scratch the surface of what I'm doing for my personal leadership program that's coming up. So I want you to have this foundation because it's something I do in September. And if you never decide to work with me directly or come across anything else I do, I want you to have this foundation of making sure that you can get the results in your life that you were created to do. Not always what you want to do, but what you were created to do. And those are very different things. All right. And so we're talking about spotlighting your dreams. The reason I want you to go back because they all build upon each other. All right, so now you might be thinking, well, Dr. V, we already did the big vision on the first one. So why are we talking about dreams this far down? So what happens, and I'm just giving you the inside scoop, right? What happens when you start doing all of this work? Now we're this is a truncated version, condensed version and is things are not going to come up like this fast. Sometimes they will, but for the most part, it's not going to take you like, just 8 days or however long we've been in here. Let's say as of now, today is September 19th. I started this on the 1st, so it's not going to take like 19 days. Sometimes this could take months or sometimes even years to unfold. The reason why I'm telling you now is so that you will understand what's happening. So instead of it taking years, because sometimes it takes years because you're unaware, but if you start feeling some of these things, then when you recognize them, you can do something about them, and then you can speed up and do those quantum leaps that we're talking about. So this is letting you know, like, hey, this is coming down the road. No matter how much you prepare yourself, I can't tell you when, but I know it's coming from personal experience and from client experience and from just research and development in general. All right, so when you do all this work, we talked about like uncovering your tolerations or working on unmanaged frustrations and things like that. When you start doing this work, new things start popping up. And this is something I really wish I would have known in personal development, which now I call personal leadership, thanks to working with some other coaches. I like that phrase better. When you start moving in towards, becoming the person you were born to be, created to be, and then things start coming up because you've learned so much. You put all of these, this mask, these clay stories, all of this stuff is packed on you, and you started being molded by what you thought you wanted to do, what other people wanted you to do, things like that. So when you're doing this work, you're taking off these layers, and so new things are coming up. And so while you may have had your big vision and you're doing the things, you got your goals, when those other things start coming up, it is very easy for you to go run and hide somewhere or to self-sabotage or to change your mind, quote unquote, change your mind about going after something or just chilling. And a lot of you are going to experience some things, do some things, get some results, and you're going to have a great life. But it's not good enough to be great. It's not great enough to be great. We need to be extraordinary and phenomenal because if that's all that you were meant to do, you'd be out of here, right? So Now you have to get to a point where you're going to have to spotlight your dreams. You're going to have to really know what it means to live in your light, because sometimes you're going to be the only beacon of light. You're going to be the only source of light in certain situations. You're not going to have a coach, a strategist, or mentor, a friend. There's just some places they won't be able to go with you. Now, if you're a believer, we have Holy Spirit. And even with that, we still have to know how to tune in, tap in, turn on, and lean into that help that we have. But let's say you don't believe in God and all of that. There's still something you can do in the practical sense, and it still applies. Now, believers, we just got an advantage that we still don't even utilize a lot of times. So imagine if you take these practical steps and then apply or join forces with Holy Spirit. Okay, so what happens is you're going to get to a point, like I said, and you might be thinking the vision isn't visioning, the goals aren't goaling enough. They are, but sometimes you may have to take a shift, and shifting, or some people like to say pivot, or you might have to do a complete about face. That does not mean you're unworthy of the dream. That does not mean the vision wasn't right. That doesn't mean that you got it wrong. That doesn't mean God changed his mind or anything. He already knows. We are just adapting and moving through and doing the best that we can. And what we have to realize is that God will course correct us along the way, but we have to move and still relinquish the control to Him. Now, we don't relinquish control to everybody because He put us here to be in control of earth. We have dominion over the things that are here. All right. So a lot of us give up control and stuff too quick, or we like, oh, let the universe know. God said, you, me, we're responsible. We guide these ships. Okay. And so living in your light is really about not when things are great, when it's the dark moments, when it's the perceived failures or the unmanaged expectations or the disappointments, the frustrations, even after you've achieved some results, some success, right? And you're going to get into moments because there will be times where you get to a place you had never been before, kind of like you're digging through a tunnel and you're like, okay, good. I know the goal is on the other side. I know the diamonds are on the other side and I'm digging. But there'll be a time where you keep digging and it's just dark, even so dark, the little spotlight on your head just probably isn't working. And it's like, what do I do at that moment? This is where you spotlight the dream, you spotlight the vision, you spotlight why you started this initially. And I know it's very simple. You hear people say, well, get back to your why. That's a very real thing. And you're going to have to take a moment and sit there and get back to your why. But here's another side of that people often overlook. During those times, people will start saying, well, see, they won't even say it. They'll start acting this way because if you're the type of person I think you are, people don't really, they're not going to talk crazy to you directly, because they know that you'll come at them. But their actions will start saying these things like they didn't believe you, or they'll start making comments and cause the little doubtlets to come into your head and for you to question yourself and things like that. So I'm going to give you a few examples. I want to make sure that you understand what I'm talking about, where what it means to, yes, be connected to your why, but also what it means to stand in your light, stand in your power. You have to remember all of that work that you have done prior to this moment. This is the time where you can go back to those past experiences and leverage those experiences and remember who you are. These are the times where, remember the big vision I said, sometimes you're like, I feel this pull, but I don't know how to do that. And I told you to give some examples of people who either achieved that or something very close. This is a time where you look at some of those characteristics and you start putting them on, like you focus on those characteristics they're inside of you because you were built for that, but you may not it may not be showing up. So this is where you do borrow somebody else's and you spotlight your dream. That way you wipe off the, because you have one little spotlight, even in the dark tunnel, you clear away that clutter, those tolerations and all those things, and you focus like on one of those aspects, not the person themselves, because there's no sense of saying, oh, I just love the life of Oprah or Beyonce, or insert your person, Mel Robbins, whatever, and I just want to be just like them. You'll never be just like them, but they have qualities. If you whomever you selected, they have qualities and traits that resonate with you, that you can have those qualities. You already have them, but you can spotlight those and say, I like how they show up as a woman, a parent, a speaker, a business owner, a mogul. I like their authenticity, and I'll get to that. I like, their straightforwardness. I like their ability to make decisions. I am going to spotlight on that and hold on to that, because I know that is what I need to get out of this dirt and refocus on my dream and my vision. All right. Let me know if that's resonating with you, or if you need me to go into a little deeper dive about that. So, when you do that, it requires you to be authentic to yourself. I was on a training not too long ago, and the people were saying, like, how you show up, people are looking for people to be more authentic. And somebody in the comments were saying, well, that word is being overused. And the one of the facilitators were saying that, I think some research article said that authenticity was was one of the traits that people were looking for when working with a coach, strategist, or mentor. And so she was like, we may have used that word so much that it's like, overused, but people are still looking for it. So just because you think it's overused, people are still looking for it. But what does that mean? Being authentic to yourself is, I got this from a coach, several coaches when I did some research. I thought it was just hers, but it wasn't. But you have nothing to prove, nothing to defend, nothing to hide, and nothing to protect. You get to show up exactly how you are. Now, there are some versions that you might polish up a little bit, but in your heart, you say what you need to say. You don't try to hide behind anybody. You don't try to censor yourself. You don't try to please other people or placate to them. I think that's the word. You don't cower down or shrink physically, or you're not silent when you have things to say. You have your own thoughts and opinions, and you voice them, and it takes courage to do that. So you're like, well, what does that have to do with spotlighting your dreams? When it feels like it is out of reach and things are not going well, remember, you are who you are every day. This is where you tune in to your star player. Spotlighting your dreams and living in your light means that your star player, regardless of any position, title, degree, goal, dream, you are you no matter what. And that's something you really do have to work towards. I gave an example before where there was a time where, yeah, I went through this whole process where it was hard for me to be called doctor. Then I owned the fact that I was doctor. Then I felt like now I don't have to use the phrase doctor, and I don't feel any type of way if people don't call me doctor, unless I know you're trying to do it on purpose, right? Then I'm like, whatever. But even in that, it's like, regardless of what you say, title or no title, if you never knew that, I am still this person every day, all day. I get to stand in this every day, all day. I've been in rooms with millionaires. They probably been some secret billionaires. I've been in rooms with heads of organizations, of companies, and just really some what we think are high level people. And when you're in those places, you have to be you every day, all day, and own your power, and know that you have every right to be in every single room that you walk into, regardless of your surrounding circumstances. You have to get to the point where, even if you achieved nothing else, the person that you are, with the you're empowered to be that person, the integrity that you have, the courage, the confidence, the self-esteem that you have that no matter what. That is what it means to live in your light. And so when I'm talking about spotlighting your dreams or redreaming, you have to make sure that you are still that person that can still get that vision accomplished or move towards that. You can set those milestones along the way. Now, when I talked about sometimes it may look differently, there's this lady that I was in this group with, where it was more like a faith-based kind of collective. And she gave the story about, her name is Rolanda Sullivan. Go look her up. She gave the story about her son. I think it's her story, but I'm paraphrasing. She wanted a son and she wanted to have this great relationship. That was her vision. She wanted to have this great relationship with her son, with her child when he came into the world, and things like that. And so she had this whole vision. She prayed to God and all of that, and it took a while, but God answered her prayers. Baby boy came, and then she learned that I think he had autism. So she was like, okay, God, that's okay. We can work through this. The things with autism have come a long way. But then he had the type of autism where he could not talk or did not talk. So she was like, she waited a couple of years, but and she would pray to God, like, let him speak because my dream was to have this relationship with him. Let him speak out. When is he going to talk? Everybody's fasting and praying, and then some people are like, oh, well, God didn't answer your prayers, or why isn't God, doing this? Even she got angry. But then she said she had to get to the point and say, you know what? The vision itself did not change. God honored that he gave me my son. That was her dream, my son. And I can have a relationship with him even if he never speaks another word. So you see, she had to spotlight what did she really want? And it was to have a relationship. She wanted a son. She got it. She wanted to have a relationship with him. She can do that. It didn't require him to be verbal back with her. So she calls it dreaming differently, where she didn't change the dream. She didn't throw it away. She wasn't angry. Well, she worked through that anger with God, but she had to spotlight those key things and move forward in that direction. So the dream didn't change. She just had to dream differently. And that's her whole thing. And when I heard that, I was like, you know what? I still lean on that to this day. A lot of us want to throw, the whole baby out with the bathwater, want to tear the whole house down, blow up the whole building, just sink the ship. And it's not that. You just have to dream differently, but you are still you. And God already knew this, so we can't even blame God. And it was like, what is the end goal really? Is to really, live the life that He called us to do and draw people back to Him. So when her doing that, people now can look at her and say, wow, what have I been upset about? There are still opportunities for me to live out the life He called me to do, even if it doesn't look the way I thought it was going to look. But that's a deeper thing there. So turning back on your like some of those things that I said that you're going to really have to tune into your star player in your personal leadership. You really do have to get one with yourself and know yourself. Look at the traits and qualities that you were born with. I have mixed feelings about personality tests. I understand them as baseline research, but don't give so much into them because a lot of us they can start turning into idols where we're like, oh, I can only be this person. But I think they can be a good baseline to really start understanding some of the things to uncover, like this is the person you are, and to start loving that person and honoring that person no matter what. And then when we talk about authenticity, this is not just, oh, I'm just going to be real and be all reckless with that. It's really connecting with yourself and then connecting with others from a place of service and leadership. And I talked about that on another video, but that's really what it is. Like I said, if you can get to the point where you have nothing to prove, nothing to defend, nothing to hide, nothing to protect, nothing to explain, that is when you're showing up in your most authentic self. But you have to know that person. You can't just say, oh, I'm showing up because I'm telling some stories. No, people can feel when you're genuine and authentic. All right. And then authentic doesn't always mean that everyone's going to like you. And you have to be okay with that. And there are going to be some people. And I know sometimes you're like, well, I don't care what people think. Yes, you do. You just have to get to the point where you only care what the right people think. All right. Because if you don't care what people think, then especially if you're trying to be a thought leader, grow a business, have more impact, influence, and income, the trifecta, the people need to like you. They need to know, like, or love and trust you. So don't say that you don't care. You do, but it has to be the right people. All right. So some things I already talked about modifying your dream. Now, this doesn't mean that you change the whole thing. So whatever your dream or vision was, you don't throw it away, but you are fluid and flexible to the point where you can ebb and flow. And the goal itself, like one of the targets may shift, but the overall, like when God created us to have a purpose, the purpose does not change. It is what it is. Now, your action steps, the assignments, the calling, those things can shift and change. So that's why I said you have to set up your vision first. You have to know what you're going towards because the things in between, can shift. I talked about one of my virtual expo from resume to reinvention to remarkable and how I'm on this mission to help 1 billion people bankrupt burial plots or bankrupting a billion burial plots, meaning helping a billion people live a life poured out above ground before they go underground, right? I can't do that by myself. So this is why I'm trying to get you to get it together so we can partner at some kind of point, some kind of way. But I talked about, and I got this from a few coaches, and it's like some of this stuff is common sense, but then it's like when you hear it from somebody else, you're like, oh, why didn't I think of that? We have the birthday and our end date. And then it's that gap in between where we can decide if we're going to make that dash dazzle. That is where you that period of time does not change. God already knows the beginning and the end, and He says you have this purpose. This is why I created you because only you can do this particular thing in this particular way for such a time as this. And in between that, that's where the human experience comes in, but the overarching purpose does not change. So we are in charge of what happens in between these dates. Now He knows what we're going to do, but we get to say, yes, I'm going to move forward. Yes, I'm going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to come over here. And if we really yield to Him, He'll still nudge us this way. And that's where you get the scripture, all things work. I know that was a little tangent, but I just want to let you know that the purpose does not change, but the small assignments and targets do. So don't get so bogged down of I don't know my purpose. You do know it. Yes, you do. The problem is you're just trying to still figure out, well, how exactly am I going to do it? You're never going to know exactly how to do it until you start taking steps and breaking those things down to goals. Like test out ideas and goals and say, oh, that one didn't work. And for some reason, we've been afraid to do that. But okay, let me get back to where I am. And so when you're in this point and being authentic does relate to being able to redream because and how to spotlight your dream. And we're talking about the statistical significance. This is the part where you really have to draw on that small core part of the data of yourself inside because sometimes you are your only spotlight. So these are two questions I want to pose to you and for you to ask yourself. You have to figure out when did you decide it was not safe to be you? And you're like, well, what does that have to do with anything? You're going to be moving along. You're going to be getting progress, and then you're going to get stuck. Then you're going to stop, and then it's going to feel dark. And then you will revert to a place where you shrink back, you get a little quiet, you don't show up. And I'm gonna tell you that I've done this where you're doing so well, life happened, and you're like, oh man, who am I to keep showing up this way when this is going on in my life? Who am I to lead people, encourage people, motivate people, talk to people about money, insert your whatever, when the very thing you're helping people with is all hell's breaking loose, full of chaos. And you have to go back to the vision. Okay, the vision is there. I'm not feeling that person. And you're tempted to be like, oh man, I am such a fraud, or I don't want to be fake. I don't want to be phony. So you revert and you cower down and you may self-sabotage. And then this is the moment on how you get back out of that. You have to ask yourself, well, at what point did I decide that it wasn't safe for me to be me anymore? At what point did I allow this circumstance to define me? These are real questions you ask yourself. And then if you sit there a while, sometimes you may need a coach to help you through this and process. But you can some of this you can do on your own. You ask yourself that, and then you have to be honest with yourself. And some don't try to rationalize it. It could be when so you saw a comment about something and it sent you somewhere. It doesn't matter what it is, but you have to define that moment, and then you say, well, what is the truth about that moment? What is the truth? Like, I may have this setback in my life, but does that still mean that I can't offer advice or a solution to the person right now? That doesn't mean that, because guess what? If you do this right, you will have your own coaches and support system and mentors to help you navigate. You're not doing this by yourself, so you're still being that person for that person. And it may not be that thing. They still need your help because they're not where you are. And that's something I had to keep telling myself. The other thing is you have to keep asking, what do I want? What do I want? A lot of us know what we don't want. And when it's so funny, go ask somebody, well, what do you want? Well, I know I don't want this. And I'm like, that's not what I asked you. You have to sit with that yourself. What do I want? And you can break it down. What do I want in this category? What do I want in this area? What do I want here? And it always have to go back to your big vision, the big purpose. And stop saying, I don't know my purpose. You just need help to uncover it and to get into alignment with it, because it could scare you. And and it's so easy to say, oh, I don't know it. And you go on this whole journey and invest all this money about trying to find your purpose. No, the real thing is you're scared to get into alignment and become that person who can operate in that purpose. That's the real truth, but that's another topic for another day. All right, so that's what I wanted to share with you. Let me know your comments and thoughts down below. Let me know if you have any questions or insights. Share them down below. And if you like this vibe, go ahead and subscribe. Be sure to like, put all the notifications, and actually share. You don't even have to tell anybody that you're sharing. Go put it on your feed on Facebook, LinkedIn, uh, copy it and send it to somebody in a text, the whole series. Go and look at the playlist and share that. All right. Now, I want to keep this one short because I got to do some things today. There's some information down below. I have an upcoming curated strategy session workshop. If you're interested, information is down below. Also, if you want to know how to get coaching on demand, self-coaching on demand, over 60 hours of personal coaching for yourself on how to self-coach yourself in 4 zones. That information is also down below. So remember, we're only focusing on 5% of our personal data to make sure we get those quantum leaps in our life. Because why? Because September is significant. Thank you so much for listening and learning with me. And wherever you are, whether you're beginning your day or ending your day, remember to be well, to be empowered, to be bold, and to be brilliant. Until next time, bye.